Jokes about men. Two Tennessee rednecks, Booba and Jim Bob, are sitting at their favorite bar, drinking beer. Booba turns to Jim Bob and says, "You know, I'm tired of going through life without an education. Tomorrow I think I'll go to the community college, and sign up for some classes." Jim Bob thinks it's a good idea, and they two leave. The next day, Booba goes down to the college and meets the dean of admissions, who signs him up for the 4 basic classes: math, English, history, and logic. Logic. Booba says. "What's that?" The dean says, "I'll show you." "Do you own a weed eater?" "Yet." "Then logically speaking, because you own a weed eater, I think that you would have a yard." "That's true, I do have a yard." "I'm not done," the dean says. "Because you have a yard, I think logically that you would have a house." "Yes, I do have a house." "And because you have a house, I think that you might logically have a family." "I have a family." "I'm not done yet." "Because you have a family, then logically you must have a wife." "Yes, I do have a wife." "And because you have a wife, then logic tells me you must be a heterosexual." "I am a heterosexual." "That's amazing, you were able to find out all of that because I have a weed eater." Excited to take the class. Now, Booba shakes the dean's hand and leaves to go meet Jim Bob at the bar. He tells Jim Bob about his classes, how he is signed up for math, English, history, and logic. Logic. Jim Bob says, "What's that?" Booba says, "I'll show you." "Do you have a weed eater?" "No." "Then you're a queer." School jokes. 5 friends were so confident that the weekend before finals, they decided to go for a picnic and party with some friends up there. They had a great time. However, after all the partying, they slept all day Sunday and didn't make it back to college until early Monday morning. Rather than taking the final then, they decided to find their professor after the final and explain to him why they missed it. They explained that they had gone to an old age home in the nearest town to spend some time with aged people for the weekend with the plan to come back and study, but, unfortunately, they had a flat tire on the way back, didn't have a spare, and couldn't get help for a long time. As a result, they missed the final. The professor thought it over and then agreed they could make up the final the following day. The guys were elated and relieved. They studied that night and went in the next day at the time the professor had told them. He placed them in separate rooms and handed each of them a test booklet, and told them to begin. They looked at the first problem, worth 5 points. It was the easiest question in their entire syllabus. Cool, they thought at the same time, each one in his separate room. This is going to be easy. Each finished the problem and then turned the page. On the second page was written, for 95 points, which tire? Dirty jokes. A very popular girl went to her doctor and found out that she was pregnant. The doctor says, I know that you are not married. Do you know who the father of this baby is? The girl thought and then asked, Doc, if you ate a can of baked beans, would you know which bean made you fart? Kids jokes. A father passing by his son's bedroom was astonished to see the bed was nicely made and everything was picked up. Then, he saw an envelope, propped up prominently on the pillow. It was addressed, Dad. With the worst premonition, he opened the envelope and read the letter, with trembling hands, Dear Dad. It is with great regret and sorrow that I'm writing you. I had to elope with my new girlfriend, because I wanted to avoid a scene with Mum and you. I've been Finding real passion with Stacy. She is so nice, but I knew you would not approve of her because of all her piercings, tattoos, her tight motorcycle clothes, and because she is so much older than I am. But it's not only the passion, Dad. She's pregnant. Stacy said that we will be very happy. She owns a trailer in the woods, and has a stack of firewood for the whole winter. We share a dream of having many more children. Stacy has opened my eyes to the fact that marijuana doesn't really hurt anyone. We'll be growing it for ourselves and trading it with the other people in the commune for all the cocaine and ecstasy we want. In the meantime, we'll pray that science will find a cure for AIDS so that Stacy can get better. She sure deserves it. Don't worry, Dad, I'm 15, and I know how to take care of myself. Someday, I'm sure we'll be back to visit so you can get to know your many grandchildren. Love, your son, Joshua. P.S. Dad, none of the above is true. I'm over at Jason's house. I just wanted to remind you that there are worse things in life than the school report that's on the kitchen table. Call when it is safe for me to come home. IT jokes. A man flying in a hot air balloon suddenly realizes he a Euro trademark S lost. He reduces height and spots a man down below. He lowers the balloon further and shouts to get directions. Excuse me, can you tell me where I am? The man below says, yes. You're in a hot air balloon, hovering 30 feet above this field. You must work in information technology, says the balloonist. I do, replies the man. How did you know? Well, says the balloonist, everything you have told me is technically correct, but it's of no use to anyone. The man below replies, you must work in management. I do, replies the balloonist, but how'd you know? Well, says the man, you don't a Euro trademark T know where you are or where you are Euro trademark re going. But you expect me to be able to help. You are Euro trademark re in the same position you were before we met, but now eat a Euro trademark S my fault. Dirty jokes. In a terrible car accident, 3 nuns die at the same time. They all appear in front of the gates of heaven to meet Saint Peter. When they arrive, Peter informs them that those who lived a life of the cloth must answer some basic questions about theology before they are permitted to enter heaven. Each of the nuns has studied their Bible well, so they don't feel worried by this. The first nun steps forward and tells the saint that she's ready. Who was the first woman? Peter asks. That's easy, exclaims the nun. Eve. Peter smiles, the bells toll, and the gates of heaven open. The second nun, encouraged by her colleague's easy pass, steps forwards and tells Peter that she's ready, as well. Who was the first man? Peter asks. Easy. That's Adam, says the nun excitedly. Peter smiles, the bells toll, and the gates of heaven open. The third nun is now confident that she won't have any trouble, and steps up to face Peter's question. What were Eve's first words to Adam? He asks. That's a hard one, the nun replies worriedly, but Peter smiles, the bells toll, and the gates of heaven open. Dirty jokes. Husband always insisted on making love in the dark. After 20 years, wife turns on the light, finds him holding a vibrator. She goes ballistic, you impotent bass *ard. How could you lie to me all these years? Husband looks her straight in the eyes and calmly says, I'll explain the toy, you explain the kids. Money jokes. A little boy wanted $100 badly and prayed for 2 weeks but nothing happened. Then he decided to write a letter to the Lord requesting the $100. When the postal authorities received the letter addressed to the Lord, USA, they decided to send it to President Clinton. The president was so impressed, touched, and amused that he instructed his secretary to send the little boy a $5 bill, as this would appear to be a lot of money to a little boy. The little boy was delighted with the $5, and sat down to write a thank you note to the Lord. It said, "Dear Lord, thank you very much for sending me the money. However, I noticed that for some reason you had to send it through Washington, D.C. and as usual, those jerks deducted $95. Blonde jokes. A blonde calls her mom. Blonde, Mom. I'm a genius. Mother, really? Dear. How's that possible? Blonde, I finished a puzzle that I've been working on for 1 year and on the box it said for 2 to 5 years. Kids jokes. A young boy enters a barber shop and the barber whispers to his customer, €, this is the dumbest kid in the world. Watch while I prove it to you, €. The barber puts a dollar bill in one hand and 2 quarters in the other, then calls the boy over and asks, €, which do you want, son? €. The boy takes the quarters and leaves. €, what did I tell you, €, said the barber. €, that kid never learns. €. Later, when the customer leaves, he sees the same young boy coming out of the ice cream store. €, hey, son. May I ask you a question? Why did you take the quarters instead of the dollar bill? €. The boy licked his cone and replied, €, because the day I take the dollar, the game is over. €.